Rob, I know we're excited here on the Halas Huddle about what the Bears have done so far. Think it's time for another mock draft?
I don't know. Maybe they stole a pick. Is that even a thing? That and more on this episode of the Halas Huddle podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Halas Huddle podcast. Here are your hosts.
The middle with the 15 to the 20, breaks free of the 25 to the 30, to the outside, 40, midfield, 40, 30 of the coast, 20, 15, Hester 5, touchdown Bears!
What's up, Halas Huddlers? Huddle up! I could have actually played our original intro. I wasn't really thinking. I'm so used to having all three of us on an episode now.
I was expecting it, but hey, it's okay.
Yeah, we got no Bob tonight, so I just accidentally put the non-Rob Justin intro in there. But welcome into another episode. I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. As always, me, Justin Onayemi. We got an exciting episode tonight. We're going to run through a mock draft 2.0 post-free agency. But before we do, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We love comments. I like to continue the discussion, whether you agree with us or not. Let's keep that conversation rolling in the comment section. But we led in with a little bit of a unique situation. There is some conflicting websites out there that are showing that the Chicago Bears own the 112th pick in the NFL draft. That actually, 114. You're right, 114. That actually belongs to the Carolina Panthers in a trade with the Dallas Cowboys.
They probably just don't think the Bears got quite enough from them off that other trade, so the NFL just ruled, hey, you need to send them something else too.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, wait, is there some type of trade happening that we don't know about yet? But
interesting.
Yeah, no, that doesn't seem to be the case. But the NFL site, the official NFL site does show that it is the Chicago Bears pick. It has been proven that it is not. There have been many local there's been many local media members who have gone and confirmed that it is not. I don't know why they haven't updated the site yet, but it's interesting to see. They tried to steal a pick, or I should say, I think it's more like you said. I think the NFL just thinks they needed more compensation. They didn't fleece them enough.
But honestly, the reason we're here is to do another mock. And
that pick will not be in this mock.
No, of course not. But here's the thing. Mocks are fun to do, and you could have your 2.0, your 3.0. But I think going from our 1.0, which was pre-free agency, pre-trades for Jackson and Tooney, you had a whole different perspective on potentially what the needs of the team would be. I mean, we were kind of assuming that they would make some moves in free agency that would fill some of their holes. But looking at the moves they did with those trades and free agency up to this point, we said it on the show in our reaction. We feel like they're equipped to really just go best player available, not trying to fill any glaring holes. Now, that doesn't mean their roster is complete by any means, but it was a different feel of this mock compared to 1.0. So you'll see quite a big difference here in the 2.0.
Very different. And I will preface this with, at least in the earlier rounds, rounds 1 through 3, I used 2 different mock draft simulators. And what I did is I went through 5 of Pro Football Focus and 5 with Pro Football Network, and I recorded who was available. And the reason I did that is just to kind of see, who's actually going to be there. Every time you run a simulation, it could be slightly different, right? And what I did was I wrote down I recorded how many times that person was available. So, for example, I'll throw it out there. Mason Graham he's not our pick in this draft, right? However, he never showed up on either of those. He never fell to 10.
But we already said in a much earlier episode that if he's there, you're running to there to pick him.
100%.
The guy that everyone in Chicago has now been talking about with their moves was Genty.
Yes.
How often was he there, Rob?
Ashton Genty showed up 4 out of 10 times. Okay. And I will say all 4 of those came from Pro Football Network. None of them came from Pro Football Focus.
Interesting.
Pro Football Focus typically had him going 6 to the Raiders. I think there was one that he actually went 8 to the Panthers, which was a little bit interesting. But yeah, so again, it was just to get a feel for like, okay, who's truly going to be there. And I did that for first round, second round, third round, and then I kind of just had to stop. So
let's lead with this. You talked about how Mason Graham is a guy who never was there at 10 for us. And is a guy we would run up there to draft. Now, the other people we feel that way about, there are some guys that would be very smart to draft, and a lot of them weren't falling in these simulations. So do you want to take through a couple of those names?
Yeah, so some of the names that some of the names that didn't fall, right? That were never there, or they were there very rarely. Armand Membo has been like
shooting up, man.
Shot up, right? So he actually showed up only 2 out of the 10 times.
And I'm only interested in him if they think he's a left tackle.
Right. So, and I don't see it that way. I'm obviously not an NFL scout, but I just don't see it. I don't think he has the arm length at 33.5 inches. Right tackle, I think he can handle, but Darnell Wright is the right tackle. I don't think it's needed. So Tyler Warren is a guy that we've been seeing a few times. Will Campbell only showed up twice out of the 10 times. So again, if you're a Will Campbell fan, once was Pro Football Network, one was Pro Football Focus. So maybe it happens. I think it's going to come down to the quarterback. In all of these situations, Cam Ward went in the top 10, where Shedeur Sanders did not go in the top 10 on any of them. And that's how I see this draft as well. So I think finally, because early on when you ran these, they were both going in the top 10.
Right.
I think now you're seeing that Shedeur is falling. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen on draft day.
So it puts the Bears in a strange position when there might be certain guys they definitely would want to take at 10. And then there's a bunch of guys that you wouldn't necessarily want to take at 10 just because you're picking. And so a trade back becomes enticing.
Right.
Now I feel, Rob, let's get ready to reveal our picks, because that's the route we ended up going. We ended up trading back. But honestly, I feel like, Rob, we got our cake and we ate it too. You know what I mean?
We sure did. So let's start off right off the bat here. Boom. We did not take anyone at 10. We did not. Now, what's interesting is in this scenario, Ashton Genty was there at 10. But so was another guy that we were very high on.
And we were only going back 3 picks.
But we got another second rounder. So it was just too hard to pass this up. The value was there. And look, the reason that I think we'd all decided, and Bob was involved with this as well. I know he's not on the show. But I think the main reason why we decided not to go with Ashton Genty here is just because of the depth that there is at the running back position. The value gets a little bit better if you think about it, and as you get those guys later in the draft, right? Like
we felt confident. We felt confident we would get a good running back option at 39 or 41, and now we also have 48.
Yep, exactly.
And that trade.
And that's where the draft is, in my opinion, for this draft class, right? So like it's that 20th pick to like 65, maybe 75, depending on how guys fall. Like that's where the bread and butter of this draft is going to be. There are only a handful of guys that in any other draft class would be first rounders. But because it's such a weak draft class, obviously you have people that have to be taken, right? So
now let's reveal it, because honestly, the guy we end up getting at 13, I would have taken at 10. But for the reasons you explained, we decided to go back, and we still were able to get Tyler Warren out of Penn State, tight end. We're big fans of Cole Kmet on this show, but let's be honest. You need more than one tight end, and I think Ben Johnson will love a player like Tyler Warren. I mean, this guy was showing so much versatility at Penn State, even running the Wildcat, which I don't know if that's going to transfer to the NFL, but it shows his athleticism. It shows the intelligence he has and that the team had trust that he would make the right reads. And I think you're getting a very, very intriguing prospect here that, with a creative play caller like Ben Johnson, puts the Bears in a nice position to have yet another weapon for Caleb Williams and the whole offense to hopefully utilize very well.
Yeah, so if you wanted Ashton Genty, let us know in the comments. But if you love the fact that you ended up with Tyler Warren and a second-round pick, because that's included in that, hit that subscribe button right now. Let us also know in the comments, hit the like button, because here's what I have on Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren brings elite playmaker ability to any offense, especially with Ben Johnson, right? Like, especially with Ben Johnson. He shows he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, over the middle, even on the sidelines. He's got great hands, very athletic. He's not the fastest guy. He's not going to beat you vertically every single time. But even after he catches the ball, like, he has varying speeds, which he uses in his route running. He uses it once he gets the ball, that he's able, you'll see him, like, he'll put a guy on the ground and kind of hurdle over them. He'll cut it to the inside and just vary his speed and, like, allow another blocker to come in and take that guy out and then cut back and score touchdowns at times. Like,
now, let's not forget, though, at the tight end position, you're also expected to be a blocker, and he's adequate at that. I mean, I don't know if it's a strength in his game, but
I would say he's similar to Cole Kmet in that regard, right? Like, it's not like his bread and butter, but he's not bad either. So I think you could see him getting in on day one, right? And playing these two tight ends type situations. I think he just brings a different type of game than Cole Kmet does. So having both of them would allow Ben Johnson to do a lot of different things.
Now, I just want to say something here, and I don't want to fall into this trap. So Bears fans, please learn something from the Halas Huddle. I do not want to always look back and say, well, Johnson did this in Detroit and Johnson did this in Detroit. He's made it very clear, not once, not twice, several times, that he wants to get this team together, see what they do well, and let that determine and dictate how they run things. That being said, I believe they ran two tight ends over 30% of the time. Does that sound accurate, Rob, or did you hear a number on that?
I don't have the true number, but just based off of the little bit of, remembrance of film that I've watched of them, it sounds about right.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to have a weapon like that. So we were thrilled to get him at 13 and pick up that 48th pick, which, like you said, that's a very strong part of this particular draft.
Yeah. Before I get to the next player here with our second pick, and we did not do another trade, so we're going to go right to 39. I will say the one difference here between Tyler Warren and, like, Colston Loveland, who's the second top, typically the second tight end on most people's boards, is age. So he is 22. He's going to be 23 in 2 months. That's a little bit on the older side, right? But what I'm seeing a lot that I didn't even realize until the last few weeks is how old this draft class is. There are a lot of guys who are 22, 23, and even 24. So I'm not concerned, right? Like, I'm just not concerned. And those who think, well, it took him 5 years to actually develop. His first year was pretty much a redshirt year. Didn't really play. And he actually had a really good year in 2023 too. It just wasn't an elite breakout year.
Rob, look at me. I'm in no position to call a 23-year-old Bayless, though. Now, Bayless, I still was able to do that. But
yeah, Bayless was 85, which congratulations to Bayless Jones. He did find a home with another team. I'm just blanking on which team it was, actually.
Honestly, I didn't hear, so you're breaking news.
Yeah, he did go to another team. I just don't remember which one.
No worries. Here we go. Now,
all right.
I got to throw this to you. Now, we said the Bears didn't have a whole lot of holes now and could really go best player available. That being said, we've talked about many times on the show, and you've led the charge on this. Safety is a sneaky need because Brisker is in the last year of his deal and has major, major concerns with the concussions, and Byard is getting up there in age. So in our first mock draft, we were even talking about Byard not being on this team, which a year from now, who knows if he will be. This is a guy you really love, and I think it's a sneaky need for the Bears. So tell us about Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I love him. Which, by the way, you'll see he's already 23 also. But, yeah, I keep saying it. Like, I think I'm a little bit Notre Dame biased, but when I watch Xavier Watts, like, this guy does it all. Like, he does it all. And I think that's going to fit in perfectly in Dennis Allen's system, who really likes to run, like, a quarters defense where you don't know which safety is actually playing the free safety position or which safety is playing the strong safety position. He's a willing tackler. He'll come down into the box. He'll play the slot corner. He's got really good hip mobility, so he can stay with one of the faster types of receivers. He doesn't have the long speed, so hopefully, he's not being brought up to the line and having to guard someone who's like a burner. But if he's playing the true safety position, he'll be fine. Intellect, his ability to read an offense pre-snap and understand where he needs to be and put himself in position is by far one of the best that I've seen in the safety class. And he gets his hand on the ball. I mean, he just does. He's got multiple interceptions every year for Notre Dame. And to just have him waiting in the wings or to develop behind these guys, or like you said, because Brisker's in the end of his contract. Will he get another one? We don't know. To me, I'm going to sign Kyler Gordon before I sign Brisker. Absolutely. Now you have Kevin Byard, who's 32, right? He's going to be 32 for this season. I think he's 31 currently. He's going to be 32 this year. How long is he going to last? Will he even see 2026? Who knows, right? So
right now, 2 picks in, we feel we have a playmaker on both sides of the ball that, looking to the future, these are guys that are starters on your team.
And I think, Bob's not on the show, but he's going to emphasize this, and we didn't really do it. This draft, we specifically said best player available. I know you mentioned it just recently. Best player available, every chance we got is basically how we handled this. I know we use my board mostly, but you guys weighed in and we made changes based on how you guys felt too. So at this point in the draft, I have Watts as a late first round draft pick. To get him early second round, I just think it's too good to pass up.
Absolutely. All right, now we teased it before. We said passing up on Genty at 10 was because at 39 or 41, we thought we could still get a good running back. Now here, like you said, Watts was maybe too good to pass, and you want to go best player available. But just 2 picks later at 41, we addressed it. Boom. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa.
Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. Not the fastest running back. He's not, but he is a bruiser. And what he does that some of these faster guys don't do is he has elite vision. He has elite vision. He gets behind his blockers. He's patient. I've seen people say they kind of remind them of Bell out of Pittsburgh, which I don't know if the colors kind of play. Le'Veon Bell out of Pittsburgh. I don't know if the colors kind of play a part of that thought process as you're watching, but yeah, he just has that patience. He waits for the hole to develop, and then he just plows through it.
Now, let's be clear. In this reality for us, he is not coming in to replace DeAndre Swift. He's here to complement DeAndre Swift. And so when you say he's not a burner, that's more what DeAndre Swift can provide. Those big plays, gash you in the pass game, which Caleb Johnson can do as well. Yes. I do see him as a 3-down back capability, but you wouldn't be putting that on him right from the jump. I think the 1-2 punch that you would get out of him and Swift, once again, let's give Ben Johnson a lot of kudos for the way he uses weapons. And so loading up this team with as many as possible, I'd love to see how he can then unleash that on defenses all over the NFL.
Yeah, and we did consider a trade back at this point, and we ended up not going with it just because we felt like getting Caleb Johnson here was the right spot. But there are other running backs that we all like, Judkins and Henderson, both out of Ohio State, Scatabo. And there's a couple guys that you could even probably get in the 5th round that, if they don't go running back early, are possibilities.
I don't remember exactly where Omarion Hampton went, but it was before this.
He did go, I think, 35. He was actually before our pick at 39.
Okay.
All right. So
that trade, we had someone at 48.
Yeah, 48. Let's build these trenches up, right? Again, best player available on the board. We had a few guys that were within the same tier, and after conversation, we decided to take another guy who has some versatility on the offensive line. Jonah Sevigny, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm giving it a shot here. Is a guy who can play tackle. He can't be a left tackle, in my opinion. I think he's strictly right tackle only. But he can play interior very well. So I think having that versatility, maybe like your swing tackle here in the future, that's what you get here with pick 48.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly the criteria that would eliminate him from being a left tackle eligible player. But I do remember Ryan Poles saying that there would be competition for Braxton Jones, particularly with him coming off an injury. So you get a guy like this, throw him in the rotation, see where he can thrive. But there won't be pressure on him right away to perform. They've addressed the major needs they needed to on that line, and see what you get out of a guy. Let him develop.
Yeah, for me, it's not the arm length per se. He is short of the 34 inches, but 33 and 7/8 is fine. It's more his footwork. But if he can clean that up with some pro development, then definitely give him the shot. I'm all for competition. So, all right. So now we're moving on to the third round. Okay, third round. We still had pick number 72. Again, best player available. I know, Justin, you were excited to see this guy's name there. I was excited to see this guy's name there. We almost went defensive end here just because we felt like it was a bigger need. But then we said, no, let's stay with this best player available. I will emphasize, though, Jack Sawyer was available. I don't think he's going to be there at 72. In Pro Football Network, which is the one we ended up using to get past certain points in the draft after we used the combined draft strategy, mock draft strategy, they have him ranked 104th. That's way too low for me. I actually have
to do a whole Jack Sawyer episode, right?
Yeah, I have a second round grade on him. So the fact that he was there, we decided he's not eligible for the rankings. So there were a couple other guys, but we both decided to go with Rest Repro.
So let me start with some of the knocks against him, but then why I still like him. If you look at that height right there, he's a little on the smaller side. I've actually seen him listed at 5'9". I don't know exactly what his combine height measurement was or anything like that.
That's where this came from. So it was the combine.
Okay. So maybe he's a little taller than I was looking at. But he's not necessarily the biggest guy. That weight, though, he's solid.
Yeah.
And he's not the fastest either.
Nope.
That might be why he's available at 72. But putting those two things aside, he knows how to run routes. He knows how to position himself to be open. And he seems like a smart type of receiver that I think, again, Ben Johnson will know how to scheme to his advantageous traits. And so I know they did sign a number 3 receiver, and they still have Tyler Scott, who we don't know what his role will be, but you can never have too much talent. And so I think a receiver like this would be right away in the mix to right away contribute. You got your 1 and your 2, but after that, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, people might be confused why it says his 40 time is unknown. The only thing that he actually that I saw that he performed at the combine was bench press. He had 17 reps, which is pretty decent, I feel like, for that guy, for that size and the receiver type that he's going to be playing. Look, he's a guy who's not going to go vertical. He's not Tyler Scott. He's not going to compete against that position at all. I think Tyler Scott's going to probably only be a return guy again this year. But what he does well is he's going to be a slot receiver. Like, he's projected as a slot guy. I think that'll fit in well with both DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, right? And he's the guy that he's just going to be running, and he's twitchy. So he's a great route runner, right? Even coming out of college, we saw it at the Senior Bowl. He's going to be able to just maneuver himself. He doesn't have a big catch radius because his arms are on the shorter side, but he's going to be able to use his body, box out players, use his body to put himself in a little bit of separation position and get those underneath routes. He's probably just going to be like, that check down, or like, what we saw kind of with Keenan Allen once he kind of got that meshing with Caleb Williams is like those short, quick, intermediate routes that you needed to, gain that first down on second and third down.
And you might have keyed in on something too, Rob. The Bears under polls have definitely put some value in performances at the Senior Bowl. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he's on their radar.
No, not at all. So yeah, Xavier Westrico.
Yep. There's a big gap here. This is a early round 3 pick. Bears don't have anything in the 4th, and we didn't make any moves. Will the Bears? They might, but we just sat on what we had. And so we didn't have that phantom pick that's on the NFL.com site. So we went all the way down to 148. And Rob, tell us about this guy. I think linebacker doesn't jump out as a position, but they did not tender Jack Sanborn, and obviously linebackers are often very valuable in the special teams game.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to try to do here with Danny Stutzman. So I was a little surprised to see him on the board at 148. I have a 4th round grade on him. he's just your typical, prototypical football player, right? Like he's the guy that knows how to get his nose around the ball. He's a good downfield downfield tackler. What he does well is he's able to get spacing when he's coming downhill to avoid blocking. If he does get caught up in blocks, though, early in Urlacher's career, and I'm not trying to compare the two, he can't shed blocks as well. That's where you're going to see him kind of struggle. That's why he's not going to be a starter, but he's going to be a solid backup and an option for them as a special teamer. Not good sideline to sideline speed, but he's not slow either. He ran a 4.52 40. So just a guy I think that they need, and I think it's a good spot to fill.
Yep.
All right, we're moving on to the last two picks, both in the 7th round. But there's a trade. Gotcha. So there was a defensive end on the board that I was like, you know what? I don't think he's going to fall. I think we should move up and get him. So I convinced them to take this trade. And we moved up to 204 from 223, gave away 240, but still got 247 back and gave up a future 6th. Whatever. And here's the guy, Johnny Walker, is defensive end out of Missouri. Just, when we look at guys like Shamar Stewart, where they don't have the production in their, showing up on tape, right? 4.5 sacks over a 3 or 4 year career. That's not good. But he has the size, right? Well, in Johnny Walker's case, look, he doesn't have the size, but he's got the production. So he's only 6'2", 230. He's definitely on the smaller side. I was a little surprised that I went this way just because he doesn't fit the Dennis Allen system type. But look, he's got his hand on the ground. Like, he does do it. He does play up though too. He's kind of a tweener, but he's just a developmental guy that I think you could bring in. Probably can also help and contribute on special teams. And he's a guy that he's got a good burst off the ball, off the line of scrimmage. You can use his speed to get around the end. 9.5 sacks last year for Missouri. The year before he had 5. A lot of tackles for losses too. So just another football player. And I think in the 7th round, that's just all you're trying to do.
I totally agree. And I just want to say something here. He does not have the prototypical size that Dennis Allen has had in the past. But I hope that, Dennis Allen is kind of open to taking the coaching mentality that Ben Johnson is bringing to the organization, where it's like, hey, let's get the guys here. Let's find what they do. And let's find a way to make that winning football for the Bears. So especially since we waited this late in the draft to go after this position, you can't be upset at getting a guy who has been productive in college, and just find a way to help let him be productive on your team. So again, had this been pre-free agency, I don't think you could wait this long to address this position. But now they are in a position where, I don't regret any of the picks we made prior, and you're getting a guy here who's productive. See what he can do.
Yeah. So real quick, if you guys are watching, check out our sign-up page at signupexpert.com/huddle. If you're looking for some betting odds, we're getting into March Madness season, right? Baseball season's right around the corner. But, and also, please, again, if there's 7th round picks that you guys are super excited about, or 6th round picks you guys are super excited about, hit the like button, subscribe, and then leave us comments. I want to hear more about them, because I don't have a top 200 list, right? My list is like 170 something right now. So I'm not into these. There's a few guys I'll see that I have, scouted a little bit, but they're not guys. There's guys out there that I have no clue about. So again, send those names and I'll look into them more. That happened last year with one of the running backs that I looked into that someone posted. So again, let me know if there's names out there you want to know more about.
And who is the Bears' Mr. Irrelevant in this mock 2.0?
Yeah, so Jalen Travis, another guy who performed no, I take that back. No, he had a good performance at the Combine. I almost said the Senior Bowl. Good performance at the Combine.
Look at that size, Rob.
Yeah, just a monster of a man, 6'8", 340. Now, here's a guy who could play left tackle with that 34 7/8 length in his arms, right? He's a left tackle out of Princeton, who then transferred in the transfer portal over to Iowa State for his final year. Had a good year there. I could not find his age anywhere, which is the craziest thing. My guess is, though, he's probably 23, just where I'm at with where this draft is at. But Rob, a developmental guy that you can just put on your practice squad and see what happens.
He looks like he could play left guard or left tackle and left guard
Possibly at the same time.
at the same time. Exactly. 6'8", 340. My goodness. You can't coach that. So,
No, you
and with
cannot.
the last pick of your draft, get a guy that's just humongous and see what you can get out of him.
Yeah, I didn't go kicker.
Well, look, Rob, undrafted free agent will be a kicker for sure.
That's number 1 on the priority list.
Did you happen to look up his RAS? If I have it correctly here.
I think it was 9.7.
Oh, this says 9.9.
Oh, maybe 9.9, 9.91.
They like the RAS, and for
Yeah.
a mammoth human to have that high of a score, hey, bring him on. Let's see what he's got. So That's exciting because I think Mock 1.0, we were still trying to fill very important needs. And here we didn't need to do that. And we still got some very talented players. I would be very excited if the Bears were to pull something like this off. And the thing is, we may not have nailed every pick that the Bears are going to do, but you can kind of see the skeleton of what is possible. And so I'm feeling very hopeful, Rob, that this is going to be an awesome April. Like you said, we keep winning these off seasons. A strong draft will really make me think the Bears won the off season, but we know that you don't get a ring for that.
No. I will say this will not be our final mock draft. I want to do at least one, maybe even two more before April 28th, I think is the first day of the draft.
Earlier. I thought it was 26th or something. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever it is, that first day, I want to make sure that we get that in there, at least one or two. There is a potential trade that we've been talking about. I just don't know if it'll actually be coming into fruition. You're right. The 24th, I have it on my calendar, is the draft date. But yeah, there's some things we want to address, and mock drafts are also just fun. And it gets more names out there for people to think about, so I want to definitely do that. But otherwise, that's all I got. I think this is a good episode. I think this is a good mock draft. Let us know in the comment section. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Let's keep growing this channel and building this community because it's not just about us. It's about you guys too.
All right. Love it. Bear down.
Claws up.
Claws up.